Good evening, everybody, and welcome to the Demonland podcast. My name is Andy, and joining me tonight as co-host, Great Viney. Good evening. How are you?
I'm excellent, Andy. Thank you. How are you?
Yeah, I'm pretty good, actually. All the better for officially making the finals. Even before our game, that the Friday night game made it absolutely official, even though the chances were extremely slim that we could not make it. But, it was nice to sort of breathe a sigh of relief and go into the game on Sunday, being able to enjoy it, and enjoy it we did. Probably one of the best games.
Did we ever?
Yeah, probably one of the best games I've seen in a long, long time us play. It was a bit of a seesawing affair early on.
I'd agree with that.
But we sort of dismantled a very good team, and you can say they got a couple of players out, but then again, so do we. So pretty much fairly evenly matched two teams. They're vying for September glory, and we made them, after half time, we made them look second rate.
We did, and not only that, I think it's the first time GWS are a very good side at moving the ball, and moving the ball quickly and spreading and running. And it was great to see us beat a team where that's the real strength, because that's where we've been exposed during the year, probably the most. And as you say, it was pretty comprehensive. And I agree, it was along with obviously the game against West Coast, was probably the best win of the year.
Yeah, the West Coast one was great. That's the one that got us sort of into the finals. And as it turns out, we probably could have lost the last two games and still made the finals. But it's very good to go in with a bit of form. The West Coast one was great. The relief winning over there. But this one we sort of dismantled a very good team. And as I said before, we didn't, but we made them look second rate. And, we also had a couple of players, probably play some of their best games. One of them, for me, that stands out, I thought Sam Weideman backed up the West Coast game with another good, solid game from him, and he's coming along really nicely, taking some good marks, kicked a great goal, on a tight angle. I think he's starting to find his feet in the team, and we're up with him.
We always suspected that it was going to happen, didn't we? I mean, we've said a number of times that he was getting in the right position and getting his hands to the ball even, but just not holding them, and he started to take some of those contested marks in the last couple of weeks, and as you say, looking very comfortable out there, and coming just at the right time, obviously, with Jesse going down.
I'm just, I'll try not to be distracted. I've got the TV on in front of me. It's obviously the All-Australian team's going to be announced tonight. And I think what we'll do is I'll keep an eye on it. And if our boys, which we're obviously expecting, we've only got two in contention. We can talk about that a bit as well. But I'm sure both Maxy and Clarry should get in the best 22, and as they get announced or come up for, I'm sure they're going to interview players as they get announced. I can play that live through our podcast tonight. So
great. Are you expecting both to be in the starting 18?
No, I think Maxy. There you go. Maxy has just been announced. He's up there. I'm not sure I'm going to put this on now.
You both look very distinguished in your blazers.
Right,
look forward to chatting
There's a bit of a
throughout
delay.
the evening. Well, it is my great privilege to announce the players positioned in the ruck and midfield for the 2018 Virgin Australia AFL All-Australian team. The ruckman, Max Gawn.
There you have
Max wins the selector's nod and his second All-Australian blazer in a year of ruck excellence. In the midfield, Patrick Cripps. This is the Carlton Stars' first All-Australian blazer after an inspiring year from the emerging leader. From Hawthorn, Tom Mitchell. It's back-to-back All-Australians for the prolific ball winner after a record-breaking season. In the centre, Dustin Martin. Following up his unbelievable season 2017, the reigning Brownlow medalist was again a force for the Tigers. On the wing, Andrew Gaff. The hard-running Eagle adds to his 2015 selection with another All-Australian Blazer tonight. On the other wing from Collingwood, Steele's side bottom. This is the first time the Magpie has been named All-Australian after an outstanding year.
All right, they're going to talk to Cripps and Mitchell now, so when they start talking to Max, I'll bring the sound up. We may as well talk about All-Australians, so congratulations, Maxy Gawn. Well, I think that answers the question. I didn't think Clarry was going to get on the field. I will bet that he's on the bench. But I sort of knew Maxy would get the nod in the ruck.
Yeah, I thought so too. I actually thought Clarence might start and thought Cripps might get the bench, but well, we hope it's the other way around, and that you wouldn't think that Clayton's going to miss altogether, would you? That would be controversial. Considering
the year he's had, if he misses, it is controversial. I think he's had a fantastic year. We've seen it week in, week out. We mention him every week on the... we see what he can do, how lightning quick his hands are. He's almost a second ahead of everyone else. Hopefully the selectors see that as well, and I've got no doubt that he'll be a multiple All-Australian in years to come. Do you think it's controversial that Andrew Gaff got in, or you think?
Well, only in the sense that he's missed 3 games. I don't think he should. I don't think he should be disqualified for the hit. It's not the best and fairest; it's the best. So it's not about that.
So in terms of, you mentioned the missing 3 games. What are your thoughts on how many games does a player have to miss to not be in contention? Because I reckon I don't think they should be in the team necessarily, but both Tom McDonald and Brayshaw probably might have been stiff to miss the top 40. But then, if you're going to count how many games players have missed. Perhaps that makes sense. So what do you think in terms of that?
Yeah, look, Brayshaw probably not. Look, he was good when he came back in, but it wasn't really until mid-season that he really started motoring. Whereas I think Tom McDonald, he came in either round 6 or 7, and he was kicking goals straight away. So I think McDonald would have a stronger case, but that he's missed too many games, I think. To make it probably just. 3, I don't think is missing too many. No. In terms of gaff, yeah.
Well, Tom is averaging about almost 3 goals a game. You factor that into the games he missed, and he's almost Coleman medalist. It's pretty great effort from a guy that was playing fullback, 18 months ago. Amazing effort by him.
Yeah, and when you put he and Jesse together, and they've kicked nearly 100 between them for the year. And as much as we love players kicking lots of goals, we've shown a real ability to spread it around. Melksham often kicks multiple goals as well. So, yeah.
Now they're almost about to talk to Maxy. I can see it on the live thing. The app is a little bit behind, so I'll switch it. They're talking to Maxy now.
A lot of attention on the ruckman come this time of year. You had to beat some good competition to get the number 1 spot.
Yeah, there were some very good rucks this year. Some guys that will probably go really well in their own club, best and fairest, and obviously, hopefully, a chance that there's another one in the team tonight. So. It was definitely not the year of the ruckman, but there was definitely some good ruck performances.
Now, unlike Nick, I don't have you pegged so much as a blazer guy. Will you get around town in that one?
I have to get someone to do my tie tonight, so I'm not even a tie guy. Not necessarily. I think this one will go in the closet. I don't think it's one of the fashion statements going around.
How does it feel to win your second All-Australian Guernsey?
It's a privilege, to be honest. It's well documented where I've come from as a person and now a footballer. So to get 2 All-Australians, obviously it's not what you play for, but what you do play for is what I'm involved in the next couple of weeks, which is exciting. The first time I've been able to do that. So this is just something that you'll look back on maybe at the end of your career and you'll be very grateful for it.
Right on, mate. Andrew, disappointing way to finish the season. You must be wrapped with how...
All right, they're talking to Gaff now. I love Maxy. I really hope he wins the Brownlow this year, not just so Maxy wins the Brownlow, but just so that we have someone that's got a bit of charisma up on stage when they're interviewing him, because how boring as good a player as Dustin Martin is, he was boring to talk to hear talk after he won.
Well, I think Maxy's sort of come in. I mean, he finished the season really strongly, so I think his odds have come in. I think he might be the second favourite behind Tom Mitchell, who's at pretty short odds from what I saw earlier in the week.
I think Maxy was $8 and Tom Mitchell is $1 something. So quite.
Yeah, so it might be worth putting a few dollars on Maxy because he had a bloody good year.
And he just continues. I mean, how important is he in our team? I mean, in the forward line, taking marks and kicking goals. Kicked a ripper. It was straight in front, but he was 40 out. And then to, down back, as we know, taking marks down back in the last line of defence or up on the wing, really taught the GWS ruckman a bit of a lesson.
Yeah, and Goodwin talks about, he uses the word connection a lot, and it sounds almost a little bit like management speak, but he does have a genuine connection with the midfielders, and some of his tap work is just straight out of the handbook, basically, and a real master of the craft of rucking. So some of that tap work is just beautiful to watch, and no wonder he sort of boasts that that the midfielders look good because of him. There's a certain element of truth to it.
Oh, absolutely. Speaking of midfielders, once again, James Harms. We said it last week. We said what a great 5 weeks he's had. Now, what a great 6 weeks he's had. Really stepped up to, of the last 6 weeks, sort of elite sort of level he's playing at. I certainly didn't expect that of him at the beginning of the year. I've always liked him, but I certainly didn't expect him to be a great run-with player and then a guy who will be able to get the ball multiple times himself. Was he playing a run-with role earlier? Was he on Kelly? Because if he was,
I think so.
Very quiet.
I think so. And he kept Kelly. Although on the telly they said he was running with someone else.
Yeah. I couldn't tell because he was getting the ball himself. So.
Yeah, not only that, but he's really improved the way he uses it.
Yep.
A lot more composure when he's got it, and his delivery is a lot better. And as you say, it's just improved in leaps and bounds. And I, like you, just I hoped for it, but I didn't think we'd see him at this level. And I guess his challenge is to, maintain it and perhaps even improve on it. And it gives me a little bit of hope. And I probably need to eat a bit of humble pie about James Harms because I didn't think he had it in him. And it gives me hope that, like Nibbler, who also perhaps lacks a bit of composure on occasions, can also improve in the same way, I guess.
Yeah, I've been a little bit, I don't know, I might have been a bit critical at the game of Nibbler the last couple of weeks. Like to see a bit more output from him. Kicked a lovely goal on the weekend. I'd like to see a little bit more of that in the coming weeks.
Yeah, if he could take those opportunities that he gets, reasonably frequently, then he'd really improve. He does sometimes tend to miss, shots that come his way. So I think he kicked a couple on the weekend, didn't he?
Nibbler.
There was a set shot and one on the run.
Nibbler kicked 2, that's correct. He kicked a beautiful one on the run. I was sort of happy with Track's game. still kicks a few points, and he's on the cusp of kicking that 5 or 6 goals game type of thing. Kick 3 goals, and I guess if he goes through a final series kicking 3 a game, I'll be very, very happy. But yeah, the output was certainly there, and I'm waiting for that 5 or 6 goal game from him that we know he's got in him.
Yeah, I want to see him take more shots. I like the team first ethos, but he's also a player who you expect to be a finisher, and to turn those real half opportunities to try and convert some of those. So less giving it off, and a bit more selfish around goals, please.
Yeah, you know what?
I think you're right. I think you're right that Lazy asked earlier in the chat room, who's the smoky that might go to a new level, and you responded with Petrarca, and I think you're right that he's the one that's got it in him to lift a level or two, perhaps, Friday week.
Speaking of the chat room, if you are listening to this live, we've got 129 people listening live at the moment. You can join us in the chat room at demonland.com/podcast. If you're a member of Demonland, you can have a chat with us, ask us a question. If you're not, you can sign up to Demonland and join the conversation on Demonland every day of every week. Or you can give us a call tonight, 03 9016 3666. That's 03 9016 3666, or Skype us on Demonland 31. Ask us anything you want, or just give us your thoughts about the game or any of the other topics we talk about tonight. In terms of Petrarca, you're talking about taking shots. We've got a few players who sometimes, they'll take the mark and they sort of quickly look to give the ball off. I don't know if it's a confidence thing, if it's just that team thing that you look to try and get it off, but sometimes they're a bit rushed with that, and it doesn't always hit the mark. And we get, us supporters, we get frustrated because we want them to go back and sort of have a shot.
Sometimes Milk passes from 50 he's a beautiful kick. Go back and have a shot from 50. Yeah, he's one who should also, look, he's very good at setting up goals. That if 50, he should be shooting for goal.
Yeah, I agree.
Unless there's an obvious opportunity, but yeah.
We do. We definitely missed Melksham while he was out, so I'm happy he's back in. He is a beautiful user of the ball, going into the 50. And another one, the return of Aaron vandenBerg to the team. I'm wrapped with him. I think we didn't realise how much. Well, not that we've missed him because he's been out for so long, but since he's come back in, he really adds something to the team. I can't put my finger on exactly, but he's strong, big-bodied.
He's very aggressive, isn't he?
Yeah.
With player and ball. And I think there was a bit of sort of doubt about him that the last time he played, we weren't a particularly good team, and that perhaps he was a bit of a scrubber who looked good in a not-so-good team. But as you say, he's looked more than comfortable the last 2 weeks. And as you say, he's a big-bodied player, and he's really using it to his advantage. Very hard to tackle, isn't he?
Yeah, well, he's big boy, and James
Harms is also hard to tackle. He's becoming fond of putting the arm out and doing the dusty fend off.
He's got the dusties about him. I remember sort of last year, or it might have been the year before, he was doing it and not being able to execute it well enough, and I think perhaps he's built up his strength a little bit and just get the confidence up, and he is doing it a lot more, and he is very hard to tackle, and
strength and speed. His ability to sort of move away from the contest is really, really good.
It is. When we talk about Maxy before, I forgot to mention, brought up the 1,000th hit out for the year, or first player to do that, I believe. And
it's an amazing statistic, isn't it?
It's just fantastic. And it's not just the hit outs. It's his hit outs to advantage stats are remarkable, and you need that for your ruckman. That's exactly what you want your ruck to be doing. Defence, Frosty. How good has he been the last couple of weeks? Just his rebound out of defence. I don't think he had his 100% this week, but when he's now got the ball in hand, or even just his attack on the ball, I'm wrapped with it. And it was his birthday the other day. Happy birthday, Frosty. Loving him in the team.
Will he start on Hawkins, do you think? Or will they try Omac first?
Well, they started him on Lance. I think they might. Was he playing? He was playing.
No. He got moved late onto Hawkins when it was too late, really.
But
he did beat him in a few contests
I think
1-on-1.
Maybe, and I think what will also help against Hawkins, and we'll probably talk more about it next week when we look at the game more in depth. But I think having Hibberd down back will certainly help.
Yep.
I mean, you can't say, if Hibberd was back there, we would have won the game. But, I think he's sort of just having that experience and, someone to fill the hole certainly would have helped.
Yep.
Omac's been great. I think the last, sort of all year, I think he's improved.
He's had a really consistent year.
Yeah. There's going to be times when he gets beaten, but you can't expect a player to win every contest he's in, but he's winning more often than not, and he's really turning into a very solid backman, like Tom was, as in a man-up backman. And I think he's got more confidence in his kicking now as well. I think when he used to get the ball, he used to sort of panic a bit, but I don't think the panic is there. He's got a bit more confidence to back himself kicking out of defence.
He's a much better user of the ball than Tom ever was down back, for sure, already. So I'm pretty comfortable when he's got the ball in hand.
Yeah, absolutely. Also, who I thought probably had his best game that I've seen him play in the last 2 years. I thought Jay Kennedy Harris. He had 15 possessions, but I thought he used the ball quite well. I'm not sure how many score involvements he had, but he had a couple. And were you surprised when he got the nod over Bug when Hannon went out, or you think that?
I don't have a lot of faith in Bug. I was prepared to go with JKH, and I didn't have a lot of faith in him either. But I think he's probably earned himself another year on the list, hasn't he?
Yeah,
he's not going to get delisted now, will he?
No. Also, he's out of contract. Is that right?
No, I don't know his contract status, but people were certainly sort of saying, about a month ago or 6 weeks ago that he was on his way out. But he's I guess made a pretty good fist of the opportunity that he's had late in the year. So
it's interesting.
He might make way. He might make way for Viney next week.
Well,
we'll see what happens with that.
Well, depends what happens. Well, Kent's obviously out, and we'll talk about next week. Tyson may or may not be in.
Yes.
So, interesting. But Jay Kenny Harris obviously got the nod before Garlett this week. So he's looks like he's higher in the pecking order than him. So, interesting.
Yeah, I think Jeffy kicked some goals on the weekend.
I believe he kicked 3. I didn't see much of the game, saw a bit of it. But, he did kick 3. So, and look, Hannon might be back next week. So, Hannon's obviously higher in the pecking order than them. So, we'll see what happens. But, I'm excited for the prospect of Viney. They've said that he's not going to play in the reserves this week. But
I didn't see a training thread. I was surprised actually no one had been to training or reported on, because Viney was meant to be back with the main group this week, wasn't it?
Yeah, so I saw someone posted a video online, as in on Facebook. I saw just briefly, but they said he'll be training with main group on Saturday, and that's an announcement. You might have seen it on Melbourne's Facebook and Twitter's. They're open training on Saturday. I think it's at 9:45 a.m. So get down there Do teams? It's been a long time since we've been in the finals. Do teams still do supporters go to trainings during finals times like they did when we were young lads in 87, 88, 89 and so on?
I miss those. Seeing the email today made me a bit nostalgic for the Oval, because there used to be a real atmosphere down there, and I certainly remember 87. It was, it was packed.
Well, in those days, training was at 6 o'clock at night. These days, they train sort of in the morning or midday or something like that. So it's a lot different. People can't always get off from work. Kids are at school, so I think the Saturday open training helps for people to come down. So I'm sure there'll be a lot of people there on Saturday. But that was great back in the day, and any young'uns listening to this now, that wouldn't know about that, but that they were fantastic.
I mean, it's just an atmosphere thing, isn't it? The Junction Oval's a beautiful ground.
Yeah.
Whereas, Gosh is a bit sort of soulless, but they'll have all the bells and whistles there. The mascots will be there, and face painting for the kids and all of that. So it'll be a good day.
And they said players will be giving selfies and autographs. So we're just what's on now. What they're doing the forward pockets and back pockets. I think. I don't think Clarry will be in this. So it's likely he'll be on the bench. So we'll bring you back to that shortly. Anyone else of the players impressed you? I think we've done the main ones.
They're all very impressive at the moment.
Yeah. Salem
playing really well Lewis. As a team. So Salem has been sensational the last few weeks.
Really taken a step up. We've sort of known how good he is skill-wise, and really taken a step up. So happy with him. Do you pay any attention ever? And you probably don't. There's AFL Team of the Week, which may as well just be the Kane Corns' Team of the Week.
Yes.
This frustrates me every week because I don't think he watches every single game. And if you're going to do a Team of the Week, you've either got to watch every single game or it's got to be sort of a group effort to put out this Team of the Week. And I know it doesn't mean anything, but he definitely doesn't watch Melbourne games, and I'm not asking them to put 6 Melbourne players in the team. But this week he had just one Maxy on the bench, and could have named about 2 or 3 that could have been in the team over some of the players that he's picked. So that's my rant of the week.
Yep. I'll pass on Kane Corns. I don't pay a lot of attention to him.
Did you pay attention when he said Melbourne would finish first on the ladder?
Yes, he was absolutely correct. No, he's a bit of a shock jock, isn't he, really, Kane Corns?
Yeah, clickbait, and I'm falling for it, but you know what, I'm going to click on AFL things, especially when they're talking about the D, so they've got me there. I'm not going to not click on something.
We've been represented during the year, haven't we?
We have. We've had
in the Team of the Week.
Yeah. I was just, the last 2 weeks, we've been quite light on, and I have a feeling he hasn't watched those Sunday games. The 3:20 time slot doesn't suit him, so there's always a lot of players. There's always a lot of players from the Friday night, Saturday games, and then the Sunday games don't get much. But there were some players in there in games. They got in there from games that were sort of dead rubbers, and well, not the dead rubber, but there was. I'm not going to go on. I'm too angry about it to talk about it. We'll go on to the ticketing fiasco. Both you and I were very lucky to get our tickets. We didn't have Super Mikado on tonight. And do you follow Super Mikado, a.k.a. Demon Blog, on Twitter? Because he was very angry. He was very frustrated and angry, and he was one of the ones that couldn't get on to the site or had it hanging and lagging.
A lot of Demon Landers had problems, and I really felt terrible for them. As you say, you and I were pretty lucky and got on straight away, but a lot of people got locked out, and it mucks you around for hours and hours, and people, shuffle their day around to give themselves that small window of opportunity to log on and do it, and you're left sort of hanging for 2 hours, and then you've got to organise your next day because they've had to reschedule it. So it's a farce of the highest order, and look, we're not used to it because the last time we played finals, you used to queue up at Bass to get your tickets, but apparently this happens every year. So it's pretty hopeless, and it's the AFL's fault, and it's also the MCG's fault. MCG just renewed their contract with Ticketek, so it's a pretty piss poor effort all round. And I know what it's like because I'm an Optus subscriber for the World Cup, and they also couldn't handle the demand when it came around. And if you don't, it infuriates me. It's my Kane Corns issue of the week.
So, because I know I got on, I was very well prepared. I had to get 8 tickets. I had everyone's barcodes all ready. I was sitting there for half an hour before refreshing, just sort of waiting, and perhaps my refreshing caused some of the issues they were having. But, I didn't have any hiccups, and I hadn't even factored in my own brain what would happen if, for some reason, there was a stuff-up like this. And I should have been prepared, because I remember I bought some Seinfeld tickets last year, and the same thing happened. That's probably less people trying to get tickets than the finals. They perhaps should stagger. They had 4 big finals on. I think only 3 of the finals were Ticketek games, but maybe they need to stagger it. I don't know how you do it.
Seems pretty obvious. You got 2 weeks to sell the tickets, so fair. I mean, that's what they ended up doing is staggering it. So pretty pathetic. And if it happens every year, which apparently it does, then it's just a bit of a joke.
Oh, it certainly is. So I'm wrapped. I was able to get tickets. I hope everyone else has now been able to secure tickets, or will so in the next 24 hours. But you'd hate to sort of miss out because they can't get their shit together. So it's pretty upsetting. Now,
treating fans with contempt, really.
If anyone has a Ticketek nightmare story, you're welcome to give us a call on 03 9016 3666. Super Mikado, if you are listening out there and you want to call in, I know you had something else on tonight, but you said you might be listening. So, give us your rant story, 9016 3666, or Skype us on Demonland31. The Demonland Player of the Year, it's a very tight contest at the top. There's only a couple votes in it. It's a 2-horse race, I think, at the moment, even though we've had guys like Harms and Tom McDonald and Brayshaw sort of race up the list, but they're coming from a long way back. So it's just Maxy and Clarry in contention at the moment, so it's going to continue on into finals, so hopefully there's another few weeks that we get to watch that contest.
Makes it interesting for the best and fairest, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Because Maxy hasn't won one yet.
And Clarry won last year.
You think he deserves one, but there's something attractive about Clarry winning the next 9 in a row, potentially.
Yeah.
So I've been thinking about the Bluey Truscott and who I want to win.
Yeah.
Because Max loves the club, we know that. So it would be very special to him to win the BNF, I would imagine. But yeah. Hard one to call.
So they're doing the best and fairest.
Interchange?
The best and fair. No, they haven't done it yet. They're gone to a break, but I think that'll be next. So I might have to break in on whatever we're talking about, and we'll see whether Clarry gets in.
A thread popped up today just while we're talking about Clarry v Max, a thread popped up today. Who is your current favourite D?
I didn't look into that thread. What's the result?
Well, there was a whole very diverse range of answers, and it just goes to show how many good players we do have on the list at the moment, and the love that there is for some of those boys. So it didn't say who's the best. It was just who is your favourite. So how would you answer that, do you reckon?
Well, I've got a sweet spot for Max being he's our player sponsor. So I've got a sweet spot for him. He's a lovely guy.
And that's you've been his sponsor
since the beginning,
since way back when.
since he had a knee injury in his first year. And he was some skinny kid. We didn't even know who he was. And, it's turned out very well. And hopefully we can write a few more accolades, including the Coaches Award that he won during the week. Some say that's even, sort of more prestigious than the Brownlow medal. Obviously, players would love to have a Brownlow but the fact that this is, given out by the coaches is definitely something that's a real thing to hang your hat on. So congrats to Maxy for that, another accolade. And I think tomorrow night is the Players Association MVP.
Association.
How is that awarded or voted on, or what? How, do you know anything about that?
Well, it's just one player, I think, isn't it? And I think every player votes.
Oh, so okay. So every player votes. So
I'm guessing maybe someone in the chat room knows, but
interesting. I reckon he's a big chance for that as well. Obviously, him, Tom Mitchell. Good chance. So a favourite player. That's mine. Who's yours?
I'm not sure at the moment. I've got a lot of love for a lot of them. I think it's got to be Clarry. Not only is he such a joy to watch on the field, but he's pretty funny off it as well. You probably also follow his Instagram account where he often posts pictures of him and the other midfielders, and then he writes this message of love and puts the smiling face with the hearts as eyes, that emoji. And he loves Gus. He loves Track. He loves Jack Viney and Max. And so I like that. And I think there is a real genuine bond between them. So we have to say, yep.
I'll just interrupt now. Clarry is on the bench.
Yes.
Let's we'll wait till they do the. I just had to restart the app going. So once they interview, I'll break in for that. But well done to Clarry, interchange, Brodie Grundy, Clayton Oliver, Sean Higgins, and Shane Edwards.
Well done.
Yeah, awesome. I'm relieved with that.
Good on. He deserves it.
Yeah.
Good on him.
Yeah. All right. So in a sec, they're about to go. They're going to interview Brodie Grundy first. So,
but
we'll wait.
Do you see those posts that he does on Instagram?
Yeah, no, I do see that. There seems to be
with the hearts in the eyes.
But between all of them, the Brayshaw, Petraka, there's a genuine love between them. They certainly love playing together, and you like seeing that with the team you support. So,
yep,
it's great. So Maxy's interviewing Grundy. All right, that's an interesting one. Oh, wait a minute. Just got to refresh this now. So we're just going to go live.
Brodie.
Here we go.
You're definitely leading the styling. He's looking very good. Look, it's been a great year for Ruckman, like I said, but I think personally Brodie's stepped up his game to a point where all Ruckman have got to start doing some stuff that we haven't done for years. So it's exciting that there could be a new sort of age of Ruckman coming.
Your perspective? I definitely would say that. I'll reiterate what Max is saying, and I think I I suppose the both of us impact games in different ways. So some of the things that Maxy does is pretty tough to replicate, and I suppose some of the ground level stuff that I do, I suppose Maxy might find that difficult. So
thanks, mate.
I really enjoy playing against him, and I look forward to battling it out in the years to come.
So what does he do that troubles you, Max, when you play against Brodie?
He hasn't missed a game. Sometimes when I play Collingwood, I wish he wasn't out there, but he's played every single game since he's almost debuted. So he's durable, but he can run. He's strong. You said, I mean, you've probably been quite polite to me, but the ruck work stuff, Brodie's terrific at that as well. You can see that's why Collingwood mids are doing so good. So, he's just, like I said, he's stepped up his game, and it's where rucks have got to get to now.
Do you take a sense of pride, Brodie, in being more than just the tap ruckman, being able to cover the ground and influence in lots of different ways?
Yeah, I suppose ever since I came into the competition, I never wanted to be a player that is just one-dimensional, and the players that I looked up to coming in were the calibre of guys like Dean Cox, who were able to get around the ground and impact the game in not just one dimension, I suppose. So that's what I pride myself on, and at times I think Bucks can pull his hair out a little bit because I'm just sort of running around like a headless chook, but I like to think that I contribute more than I probably play out a role more than... I suppose I'm more than... I don't know, you know what I'm trying to say.
No, we don't, mate. Get this clown off.
The demands on you, Max, where
we're just
you're
talking to
prepared
Max
to go
as
and how
well,
hard you're
so.
prepared to work. It's become a real feature of your game. Do you pride yourself on that?
Yeah, I mean, Brodie said he admired Dean Cox. I was probably more Peter Street and Spider Burton. Two terrific ruckmen that are incredibly tall, over 208 centimetres. So obviously the demands of the game is very high, and you've got to be as fit as you can, and there's some good aerobic beasts coming in. So I probably wasn't at that level a couple of years ago, so I needed to get fitter. I did that, and I've been able to run a little bit better this year. What's
your honest opinion of the pesky second ruckman who has no business being in the ruck whatsoever when they come in to compete with you?
I suppose from my point of view, I suppose Max's point of view as well.
Right.
I think we pride ourselves on being that number one ruckman and love the responsibility that
get to Clarry. We'll
yes.
come back when they get to Clarry. But rap for Clarry. How many? What's his third year? He's
pretty young.
Pretty young, and I'm sure he'll be there. Be there for a while to come. Are they going to talk to him next? I was talking to Sean Higgins, but yeah, we'll get on to that in a minute. All Australian, we've talked about finals, tickets, fiascos, injuries. They said
we played two men down for the better part of the game.
Yeah, so it just shows. Often, I see players go down for other teams. You have two down, and you think, "Oh, ripper!" But look what Sydney did to us with two men down. Look what we've done to GWS, two men down. So it's not always. It doesn't always work in your favour. And I thought it was a good idea playing Max down forward in the last quarter rather than giving him that rest on the bench. I thought that was a good move by good management move by the coach when he did that.
Yep.
About to talk
but we considering we'd played in Perth and done the travel, and it had been a warm day in Perth, the ability to run out the game, two men down and come out after half time and put the pedal to the metal was very impressive.
Talking to Clarry.
Accused of celebrating too hard. But it is exciting, isn't it? You're the baby of the group. How do you feel?
It's a massive privilege to be here. Very excited, and for all these bunch of unbelievable players, it's a good feeling.
Clayton, when I was 21, I had a bowl cut hairdo and I drove a Holden Barina with a racing sticker up the side. You're an All-Australian. How does that feel? Can you capture that for us?
It's a pretty good feeling, but I think my car's too much better than yours. I've got a Mazda 3, it's got a fair few tints in it, so fix that.
Oh, no, it's better, mate. It's definitely better. Well done, mate. Well deserved.
Thanks for that.
You've had a super year. Well done, buddy. Shane, we've got Cotchin.
The interchange players don't really get much of an interview. That's one question.
He did well, though. There was a good laugh.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I'm wrapped that both he and Maxy got in the team.
Do you think anyone? What about Nev? Some people said Nev was unlucky to miss out. I don't think so.
No, I think he had a quiet sort of first half of the year. Look, he does his job almost week in, week out, and he's done he had some spectacular games and spectacular shutdown jobs. But I think his year as a whole last year was far superior, and I think he was unlucky,
thing, wasn't it?
Yeah, he was unluckier last year to miss out than he is this year to miss out. But look, it would have been.
The backline in the first few weeks was still adjusting to Lever.
Yep.
And they were all a bit. That took a while, and then there was a couple of weeks when Lever left, where everyone had to readjust again. So, as a whole, I think you're right. Last year was better for both Hibbert and Jetta overall.
Yeah, most definitely. So they've got the Legends game on this week in lieu of not having any footy on. I saw an interesting thing posted on Twitter, I think from Ashley Brown during the week, that he thought that the Brownlow should be done this week rather than the week before the Granny. What are your thoughts? Yep. What are your thoughts on that? It sort of gives the opportunity for interstate players to come down like they've done for tonight, put something on that week off. I've got no real interest in the EJ Whitten game.
So what it would have been the
Friday night,
the Monday,
or no, a Friday.
He said 2 nights ago, or
no, he said Friday night, as in this coming Friday night. Have a prime time thing. I guess you could do it any night. You could do it the Thursday night, as in tomorrow night. Maybe the Monday. Monday's probably sometime over the weekend or sometime during this week.
I don't know whether people would sort of stay home on a Friday night to watch the Brownlow.
Yeah.
I think it does well on a work night because you're already at home and it takes forever. So, yeah, Clint Biscuit agrees with it in the chat room.
Oh yes, very good. Yeah, it should be. I think there's a case to be made. I'm just actually posting something to the Demonland Instagram page as we talk. Multitasking. We'll talk about the Legends game. Is there any? I haven't looked at anything for it this week. Is there any XDs?
Any demons in there?
Yeah, I don't know. If anyone can enlighten us.
Adam Uze's played. I don't know whether it was last year, but played recently-ish. Yeah. And Robbo, I don't know, does Robbo still get around in that?
I don't know. You would think Robbo would love to play in that type of thing. I know he played footy this year, Robbo, I think. I'm sure I saw some Facebook posts of his. I saw Brad Green at the footy this week. He still looks fit. And it hasn't been great seeing a whole lot of we talked about it last week, the reactions of some of the Ds are thereabouts reacting to us getting into the finals, but it was great to see in our section where we sit, there were quite a few ex-Demon players there. They obviously, I think that it seemed like they invited players who had played in our last, our last final series were all there. We invited to the President's Lunch. It's great to see some of the old
including
Demons,
the Reverend.
Including the Reverend, which was great to see him there as well. And I saw
he had a massive smile on his face, didn't he?
Yeah, there was a picture on social media, and he'd be wrapped with it all as well. So,
he'd be loving it, the Rev. Yep.
Yeah, it's good to see that. Schwarter and his son were in the rooms pre-game, so it's good for that. We've got
you don't see that often. Schwartz is a bit disconnected from the club a bit, isn't he? I know he's obviously the patron of the cheer squad, but sort of officially he's always kept his distance, I suppose. So, yeah, good to see him back in the rooms. And we spoke about that video last week of,
and we've got,
watching us against West Coast.
We've got a caller on the line. Good evening. Who am I talking to?
Good evening, fellas. It's Ben Man.
Oh, Ben Man. Welcome back to the Demonland podcast.
Ben Man.
Welcome back to the Demonland podcast.
G'day, fellas. It's I've got a hoodoo thing. I've called in. We've won each week, so I didn't want to break that at all.
All right.
So, reverse hoodoo.
That's right. You now need to call in up until the grand final. So, what do you want to talk about?
A couple of things. The game. But first of all, I just wanted to touch on something you said about the kicking. The players looking inboard, and Melksham, for instance, and Petrarca, and I have a debate with a mate of mine about exactly that issue. And I think it's a real modern phenomenon, and it's sort of influenced a lot by basketball and perhaps soccer, but basketball, which is all about percentages and taking percentage shots, and crossing from into the corridor is clearly the percentage play, and it's frustrating when it doesn't come off. But it's so clearly a team rule that Petrarca did one on the weekend where it seemed a bit stupid. Like, it would have been almost easier to kick the goal, but he elected to cross into the centre from 20 metres, sort of stabbing past to Tom McDonald. But it's clearly drilled into them that the team play is to go inboard. There was even a few on Saturday where at least 3 or 4 where they were 40, 50 metres out. Harms did it, Melksham did it, where they actually ended up shooting for goal. But their first instinct was to almost get it off, and they all, you're worried that they were going to get called play on. But I think it comes down to percentages and the team rule, and they're all bought into Goodwin's rules and the plan. You can just see it's such a collective effort. It is frustrating sometimes when they miss the pass, but I guess partly you're assuming that they would kick the goal, but the percentage play is definitely the short pass, or looking for that pass anyway.
And that explains the accuracy that we've generally had for the past, 2 or even 3 years, because they do get the ball into as you say, a high percentage position, so much better to capitalise. I guess it's just frustrating. It's a decision-making thing where, and you get annoyed when you think they should be having a shot and they go inboard, as you say. Yeah,
look, I agree with that, and I think, though, there's a lot to be said for this sort of, I think it's easy to forget where we're at, but, it's a truism in football that players really hit their strap. 50 to 100 games, 50, 60, 70 games, and we're getting a whole lot of those players into that zone now. And when they do, they start to make those decisions. So, they calculate that percentage, when to break the rule, I guess, for want of a better word, and when not to. And Melksham's brilliant at it. He's just fantastic at it. And I think it's, I think that they're all bought into our way of playing. And I think that, we're reaping the reward. And the other thing I was going to say is, that was an awesome game on Sunday. As good a game of footy that Melbourne's played in, I don't want to gild the lily, but it seemed like a long, long time since we've played that comprehensively well.
Yeah, how long has it been since we've been that exciting? For me, you have to go back to 94 in terms of sort of talent and excitement level. Obviously, there was some great times in the early 2000s, but for mine, we're high scoring, we're tough and uncompromising, so it's a pleasure to watch, I've got to say.
Oh, totally agree. It's just thrilling football to watch. I thought the first half was, particularly the sort of first quarter and a half, it was a great game of footy to watch. They were fantastic, and they were, playing to their strength with their, their elite field kicking most of the time. But you could see partway through that second quarter, we just started to grind them, and they were making those errors. And there were some crucial misses. I think it was Cameron missed after getting a really dubious 50-metre kick, 50-metre penalty, and then the 2 late in the second quarter, which meant that we went into half-time with a 14-point lead. Now, I still think we would have rolled over the top of them, but they could have easily been level or ahead, and it would have felt an injustice because we definitely had the better of that second quarter.
Yeah, I think I saw that we're the number one team for forward half. Is it intercepts or turnovers? So that pressure is, as you say, it eventually strangles teams.
then the other thing that I think that we've really improved in, you could see it in our game. I mean, if we'd let them off the chain with not the sort of gut running to cover that tic-tac, the open player, we would have been in trouble against them. And we've really improved that. After the Sydney game, Goodwin was ropeable about not doing that. And we've been brilliant in the 2 weeks since. Where I was sitting in the stand was right on the wing, and normally I'm in the top of the Ponsford stand. And the last couple of games I've been at the G with on the wing, and I can see from where I'm sitting down into the dugout with my binoculars. And they've got a little electronic, I don't know what it is, like a iPad or something in front of the players. And they've got information on there, like different things like ball in motion, all these strange sort of phrases. But they also track key statistics. And the two key statistics they were tracking through the whole match were uncontested marks, how many marks GWS were getting that were uncontested, and the other one was contested possessions. So in that third quarter, for instance, at 10, 12 minutes into the quarter, we were already 8 contested possessions up. So, it's interesting that they're the two things that they obviously have a focus on. But one of them,
so hang on, you could actually read the information on a computer screen that the players were looking at down on the bench.
Yeah, and in the Swans
That's
game
incredible.
as well. It's fascinating. And it has stuff like chaos ball, different things roll up on the screen, like they're obviously coded phrases. And I've no idea what they mean, except for the obvious ones where there's, like they've usually got two key sort of statistics that they've got up there. Well, it's contested ball.
Well, you'd be tempted to look at that the whole game.
Well, yeah, I mean, and also they have the
clock.
The countdown clock starts flashing with 2 minutes to go, flashing red.
Wow.
So you can track. Yeah, it was unfortunately with the ticker texting, I couldn't get those seats again. So
I wonder who, if that's a Melbourne thing or if that's provided by the AFL. But obviously, with the code words, it seems like it is a Demons thing, and I'm sure every team sort of has their own thing. I've seen when players get injured, the medicos are looking at screens and iPads and rewinding footage and playing it in slow motion to see what's happened to a player. And it's really interesting, the technical aspect, and I'd pay a subscription to have access to that on my phone, actually.
Yeah, it's definitely a Melbourne thing. Absolutely, in Melbourne. I mean, they've all, no doubt, all the clubs have them, but it's definitely what was on it was definitely what we're talking about. Things like, the ball in motion was up a lot, chaos, then this really strange things. We were joking at the end that once we got ahead that, the pizza order should go up on it, two pepperonis with anchovies. And
well, not
you
these.
Can watch the delivery driver make his way to the MCG.
not these days. They'd be having. They'll be on strict diets. It was funny. Super Mikado posted a picture on Instagram of, I think it was Ricky Jackson after a game. It looked like maybe after a final, might not have been. He's eating a pie and he has a beer right next to him. But I'm sure that's not done anymore.
No.
Yeah.
And the other thing was that it was very impressive. Where I was sitting, Kent got hit right in front of me, and I was up on the sort of first level. And it was a big hit. He was out straight away. And also Tyson he was off, I think, from about the 20-minute mark of the second quarter. So Kent was only 4 or 5, maybe 6 or 7 minutes into the game, I think. So we were down 2 pretty big rotations early on. And they had the rotations up on this board as well. I think we had 30 less rotations than them, which is a lot, or 20 or something, which is quite a lot. So they obviously, there was a discussion on Demonland a few weeks ago about potentially us, maybe we're tapering and getting them fit, but they look pretty fit, I have to say.
Yep.
Look, rotations were obviously down because of the 2 extra men not present, but I find that fascinating, those stats.
You got to feel for Kent, don't you? Because he wasn't great against West Coast, but he finished really strongly, and he's been plagued by injury for a long time now. And so to cop it, when he really had a chance to nail a spot for the finals was really unlucky. Got a feel for him.
Yeah. Oh, totally. And also for Tyson, I had the binoculars on Tyson at the three-quarter time break, and he was out at the huddle. Kent never came back. He must have gone to hospital because he may have come back. I think I saw it on the TV, but I couldn't see him from where I was sitting. But Tyson looked devastated, the poor fellow.
But having said that, they reckon he could be a chance to play. According to Misson's reports that I saw on YouTube today. That's remarkable. So yeah, that's good luck to him if he could get up for that. But if not, it seems like he'll be a chance to play the week after, if there isn't a week after.
If there is a week after, and I mean, I think he brings a lot to. I'm a Tyson fan, but I acknowledge, he had that sort of period where he's definitely slow and gets caught, but he hasn't been getting caught, and he's been getting his hand free, and I think he's sort of a player. That contested ball player is so crucial, obviously, in finals, and he's been in pretty good form the last few weeks. I suspect that they'll be keen for him to play if he's up for it, for sure.
Yeah, he's back. He was approaching his 2014 form, so yeah, unlucky too. Fingers crossed he's good for Friday week.
Yeah, agreed. And they said as well in regards to Kent that it's possibly only a 3-week injury, but given there's not a lot of games to go in the year, it's 1 week at a time proposition for us. But how unlucky is he? Every time he comes back, he sort of gets something. There was, I think, was it last year in the Anzac Day game? He did the hammy, and then he came back for a game or two and did his shoulder or AC or his collarbone.
The club left him in WA, and he had to make his own way home over the desert.
What was it? That was
we saw.
What was that for? Was that the drug? No, that was Clarry with
Clarry was the drug test. Kent was. Someone saw him on TV, and I don't know that there wasn't a pillow or something, and doctors had commented that he wasn't getting proper treatment, which then grew into the club wasn't looking after him, and he'd been left in the rooms on his own.
And this is the very time of year that you don't want to miss a match, particularly if you're not a Viney or you're not a guaranteed 22. It's those players who. I thought Kennedy Harris was really good. He ran super hard. He put his body in when he needed to. His possession's very clean. So he took his chance. I mean, he may not keep his spot, but Kent Hannett could come in for him and dominate, and Kent may not even get back. So, tough.
It is can be cruel football. You see with St Kilda that Nathan Freeman, how much time he spent off the field, comes in, plays 2 games, gets dropped, and now gets delisted. So can be a cruel game. The Sydney player who had missed 6 years or whatever came in and did his knee 2 weeks later. So, yep.
Yeah, cruel.
Yeah.
And just the final thing I wanted to say before I go, like 94, I think, is a really good comparison in terms of the energy. We've got the combination of footy that they've been talking about since Roos, this sort of combination of, contested inside-out footy with, I think, the most exciting sort of scoring potential of any side in the league at the moment. I mean, no one at the moment can score goals as quickly as the Demons can. And when we get going and combine that sort of rolling, sort of bulldozing style of play, then, it's a really thrilling combination to watch. And you just get the feeling with that momentum, 2 big wins, exactly the sort of wins that we needed to get. If we could, get into that Geelong game, I've just got the feeling that we could really get over the top of them and, win by 40-odd points, and be, set up for a pretty big game the following week, which is, you'd think would be Hawthorn. Then we're on the right side of the draw. We'll be flipped to, if Richmond win, they'll be on the other side. So
we're going to talk about the road to the Cup, and may as well talk about it with you, Bin Man. What results do you want to see? Obviously, the D's get up, but would you want Collingwood to knock off the Eagles so we don't have that road through Perth?
So I think if we win and Richmond win, we play Hawthorn.
Yeah, but then the week after is through Perth.
The week after is either Perth or Collingwood.
Yeah.
Right. Well, definitely we want to stay home. So we definitely would prefer to stay at the G, wouldn't we?
Yeah. Well, that's my
but, I think we've travelled. So, I mean, how many games this year did we lose interstate?
Only one, I think.
But
which was Port.
West Coast, it's a fortress there, and I think it'll be not that we can't beat them. We did beat them a couple of weeks ago, but I'd prefer to play. I think I'd prefer to play Collingwood at the G than go back there.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, but I think we're in the position now. Like even sort of, I mean, it's hard to be objective, of course, but of anyone. Even Richmond, I mean, if all the sort of clubs look at the team they would least like to play, we're the floater in that draw that says, well, you don't really want to play Melbourne because we're the team, if we get hot, we can roll over the top of anyone. Richmond's had our measure because I think that they, of course, match us in the competed ball stake. But I think what, Goodwin's been right. He's said all season that it's a very long season, and you'll note that he's been talking about this idea of now we're in a second season. It's a new tournament. It seems to be a language that's coming into footy. But he made a point early in the season that tactics sort of shift over to like a 6 or 7 game cycle. Richmond have struggled, not tactically, but other teams have clogged up, have gone through the centre corridor in the last couple of games against them and had some success. So, with all Goodwin and his brains trust has had 2 seasons to work out Richmond. And, I think his tactical nous is a bit underrated, really.
Yeah, I would have to agree with that. And look, I would have loved if Freo could have done the job on Collingwood, and I thought early on in the last quarter they might. It would have been, it's a moot point now, but it would have been great to have a free hit at Richmond.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, there was talk about you wouldn't want that, but surely you always want the double chance.
If you've got that double chance and get a free hit at Richmond to go into a prelim, I'd love that, but obviously it's a moot point.
Yeah, I'm not so sure. Actually, I wasn't too fussed, and I'm quite happy with the path that's ahead of us. Even taking into account the double chance, I think we're really good to make it to week 3, and then it depends. I think we'd struggle to get a repeat win over in Perth, but Collingwood at the G would be a different proposition.
Can you imagine that? A Collingwood Melbourne prelim. We're getting way ahead of ourselves, but wouldn't that be fantastic?
Ticket Tech better get their act together for that one.
How did you go with tickets? Did you struggle?
We had a bit of a nightmare. We did eventually get them. A friend of mine sort of spent hours on the phone. Actually got tickets, but he wanted better tickets and called up the next day to see whether he could get better tickets. And they said, well, you can swap. He tried to, but he feels like that whole process meant that he couldn't get a crack at the good tickets today. So we're up in the Olympic stand, which on the top deck, but close to the front, which is not too bad.
Yeah, it's not too bad in the front rows of that. As you get higher up and higher up, you will need those binoculars.
Yeah.
Can I just say, and I don't want to go back over the tape or anything, but I called this quite a few weeks ago, if you remember, Andy. I said it might have been around the time of the Port Adelaide loss, and I said that we'd still have another bad loss or 2, but that we'd finish the season strongly, and it's come to pass. So I'll just take a little bit of credit for that.
Just repeat that for Bin Man, Grapeviney.
No, I was just saying that without going back over the tape, I think I called this quite a while ago. It might have been after the Port Adelaide loss. I said that we'd have another bad loss or 2, but that we'd finish the season strongly, and it's come to pass.
Yeah, no, you did.
Well, you've been on the money.
You did say that, and you did correctly say that there would be other upsets as well when I was sort of stressing about the ladder predictors and thinking that North Melbourne's just going to waltz into the finals based on their draw. You did say there were going to be upsets, and yep, there were. So maybe we need to listen to you a little bit more, Grapevine.
I think...
Well, after that Geelong loss, I was just devastated. I couldn't see us making the finals. When I looked further ahead and saw West Coast in West Coast and, GWS, I didn't think we'd have a chance. But look at us. I reckon we've played some of our best footy in a long, long time. So you can recover from bad losses, but we're in the pointy end of the season now. We can't afford a bad loss. So got to play like the last 2 weeks.
Well, as I mentioned last week, credit where credit's due is Goodwin got us up after the Geelong game, after that devastating loss. That was one of the worst losses in recent memory. I mean, to go to Adelaide and win over there when they still had a live chance for the finals, to play poorly against Sydney and not, take our opportunity to make the finals and travel to Perth and win there is a fantastic credit to his ability to get them up. But one thing that I really like about Goodwin is that he emphasised and was criticised for it even on Demonland. He emphasised the positive. He wasn't negative about either of those losses, particularly the Geelong game. He made a point of saying we had more scoring shots than in the last, which was true, and of course we let them get a run on. But he emphasised the positives, and when you hear, the players in their post-match interviews, and they repeat that mantra, and I remember Harms was criticised for being too up after, I think, the Sydney loss, where he, that's, I think, what Goodwin is emphasising is, what we've done well, and you keep going back to the game plan. I think they've got such faith in their game plan, is that their approach is, we've got our way of playing, and other teams have to adjust to our way of playing, and we'll have faith that our way of playing will get the job done.
Yep.
Yep, I absolutely agree. So, anything else, Big Man?
And that thread, the criticising, the thread questioning Goodwin. Yeah. People ought to be embarrassed with some of the stuff that's been written in that thread.
I don't read.
Even after the bad
particularly
losses.
now.
Well, surprisingly, it's gone very quiet in there. And I noticed that some of the negative Nellies have quietly crept back onto Demon Land. It's good to see, Big Man, that you were able to hold Dr. D to account. Who
he still hasn't changed his avatar, though, I have to say.
What's his avatar?
It's neat.
Well, the bet was that we'd make the finals and that I would get to choose his avatar and vice versa if we made it. And it was a few weeks ago, and his avatar that I've chosen for him is Mark Neild, that sort of scowling face of Mark Neild, because, he's a Melbourne person, sort of, but not universally loved and fairly negative.
So, all right. So, did he make this bet with you, and is he welched on the bet?
I made the bet.
He just disappeared.
He accepted the bet.
He accepted it. All right. Well, because as an administrator of Demonland, I can force avatar changes. But
well, maybe give him a little bit of time. Maybe he's taking time to adjust. But he did post quite a bit today. So I did chase him down a little bit and thread him back to
I think he'd changed
picture
it
of Mark Neild. So.
He had changed it late afternoon.
Okay, to the...
Oh, terrific. Great. Well done, Dr. B.
The thing is, he only came back onto the board like today or yesterday. So since the West Coast game, he's been missing. And he had the temerity to write in the Trade Hogan thread that he's got so many runs on the board and that he called Jack Watts and fair dinkum. You didn't have faith that we were going to make finals, and you're boasting about how many runs you've got on the board.
Yeah, look,
anyway.
You got to be able to admit when you're wrong. And we all barrack for Melbourne, so why would you run away from the board? You just say, you know what, I was wrong. I didn't think we'd make it, and we did. And it's a grand old flag.
Love and life.
Yeah. Anyway, each to their own.
Well, just the very last thing for me is that Trade Hogan thread. I don't know what people are thinking. I mean, the only reason we're not going to trade Hogan for a star. Why would we? You don't trade. You're never going to get someone as good as him. He's a star. He's an out-and-out star. I can't. There's no point arguing otherwise. The only scenario I could see is if he chooses to leave, just like McGovern's choosing to leave Adelaide apparently with 3 years on his contract. Well, if he leaves, then you're not going to keep him. If he says, I want to go back to Perth. But come on, why would he want to go to Fremantle? They just got beaten by a gazillion points. They've got Lyon who's coaching, the players it's so overestimated, this thing about we can go for a contract. You win a grand final, you're going to put a few zeros on your lifetime income. So, if he wants to leave, he wants to leave. But it's just ridiculous to suggest us would be thinking of trading him.
John Ralph reported tonight that he'd spoken to Jesse's manager. He's got no interest in going back. He's just got his licence, apparently. So he'd get down to the coast where he loves to go and surf. And the other thing that people forget is Jesse's quite shy, and I don't think he likes being in the limelight. Now, all right, you're in Melbourne, so you're under the spotlight a bit, but it's not the same as being in Perth, which is a two-club town and is crazy about their footy. I mean, he'd be much more in the limelight if he went back home.
Totally.
So, it does make sense at any level. And you're talking about a player who, midway through the year, was on track for All-Australian and described by Matthew Lloyd, actually, as probably the best player in the competition at that juncture. Now, admittedly, he lost form for a couple of weeks, but I'm with you. The guy's a star, and it's absurd to consider trading him, even though I've got faith that the weed's going to come on and also be a very good forward.
Well, I mean, you could have him. He's fit enough to be. I mean, people are talking about Weideman being a centre half forward. He's going to play deep full forward and come out from the square and have Hogan as a sort of roaming centre half forward like David Schwartz. It's a brilliant combination.
Yep.
Do you think we would play the three of them, Hogan, Tommy, and Sam, in the same team?
Good, he did it a few times.
Absolutely. They tried early on in the year, didn't they? The three of them played. Was it? I'm sure the first game of the year, or at least. Why not? I mean, they're all mobile enough.
It was a few games in.
Definitely the St Kilda.
It happened. Yep.
Yeah. Do you think? Do you think we would do it now, given that Sam's in form now? Because they stopped doing it because Sam wasn't sort of performing. They went back to the twos. It'd be interesting, I guess. Another moot point because Jesse's not playing for the rest of the year, but we'll see what happens next year.
I think next year, round one, they're all fit. All three of them will be in that forward line, and try matching up on that. You'll need players who are 6'4", 6'5", who have got the aerobic capacity to match Tom McDonald and Hogan, and the height to match a fella who's going to be 6'5" and 100 kilos in Weideman. I mean, that's a nightmare for opposition coaches. So they will for sure. And then you've got Gawn who can push forward, who did on Saturday, on Sunday, I should say. So that's a frightening, combination, and that they'll absolutely play together if they are all fit.
Yeah, plenty of room, especially on the G with Jesse roaming.
Right, fellas,
up to the wing.
I won't dominate any more time. Thanks, go D's.
Go D's.
Hopefully, if we win, I'll call him next week because we wouldn't want to break a good thing.
Well, we're not playing this week, so hopefully Casey can get up.
That's right. Well, mate, I won't call next week, the week after.
No problem, mate. Good to hear from you, and we'll look forward to hearing you after our next win.
Yeah, go D's.
Go D's. That was Bin Man joining us once again. If you do want to call us, 03 9016 3666. 039016 3666. You can join us just like Bin Man joined us. What did you think of the jumpers we wore on the weekend?
Just before the jumpers, isn't that incredible that Bin Man could see what was happening on the bench like that?
That's fantastic. I'd love...
Absolutely fantastic.
I'd love to get a look at that. Yeah, obviously they're not going to share that with supporters nor opposition. No. So that's... But it's interesting. They might have to get, I don't know if you're familiar, you can get for your iPhones, you can get these screen protectors that you can't look over someone's shoulder or from the side. You can only if you're looking at it front on. So perhaps they need to employ that type of technology to stop opposition coaches with their binoculars having a look at the thing. So,
it's almost worth alerting the club to that.
Yeah.
I mean, the fact that someone can do that is extraordinary. Well, the club would not want that information to be seen by anyone.
Yeah, you can buy those things. I'm sure they're using sort of iPad or tablet technology, and you can buy those. I know you can for iPhones, definitely. My old man's got one. So you definitely buy it for an iPad. So if anyone from the club is listening to this podcast, get onto that ASAP. We don't need anyone having a little sneaky peek at our tactics.
Let's hope Binman doesn't take the information that he's got and approach Geelong with some sort of secret backroom deal, which he could probably make a fortune from.
I think Binman is a demon man through and through, and I don't think he'd be doing that. Don't Make Me Angry is on the line. Did you get permission from your missus to make a call this week?
Oh no! Well, I'm away here and pretending to be asleep. She's just talking to somebody, talking to a friend. But
so you're hiding the call from your missus. Is that what you're saying?
No, not really. Yeah, no. I've been trying not to be angry lately.
Well, what could you be angry about?
Just we're making finals, and everybody's firing, and Jones is playing. The last couple of games he's played. He's back to his old form, I reckon, Nathan Jones, in the last couple of games. And we still get some people going, we should drop Jones, and I don't know who they think is going to come in for him.
I said we should drop Jones.
I wouldn't drop Jones. I think he's doing a great job. Plus his leadership, you can't drop him. That's what I think. Who's saying that?
Sorry?
Who in particular on Demonland is saying, can we name names?
I was on the importance of Jordan Lewis thread. I can't remember who it was, but I did respond back to him, and he's like, everybody's so blind about Jones. He makes so many mistakes. He drops the ball, and, he gave away that turnover late in the game when that handball, but he just dished it off, and then GWS kicked the goal out of that passage of play.
Yeah, I remember that. Yeah. And look, that's going to happen. Yeah, not every handball's going to be slick. If he was doing that every time he got the ball, then yeah, but one-off, you can't hang him for that.
Yeah, the bias. There's so many bias sort of people, they, when somebody's got a bias against somebody and said, he's only in the team because he's stuck with us, so he's no good. He's no good. He should be dropped, retired and that. But sometimes he has gone missing. When we've in crucial games in the last quarters. But even the Sydney game, he almost got us over the line where he kicked one goal in the last quarter, and the other one he kicked out in the full. If he nailed that one, I think we might have just gone over the top of Sydney, and then. He kicked one of the ceiling sort of goals against. It wasn't a ceiling goal, but it would put us about 45 points up against GWS, and that was pretty much, the end of the game when he kicked that goal, Jones. But I reckon that's got to be actually our best win of the year, round 23, don't you think? Because we were 2 rotations down for most of the game, for at least half the game, and Kent was out in the first 5 seconds. Poor bloke, he never can. Every time he is going to cement his place in the side, he gets himself injured, doesn't he, poor Mr. Kent?
Can't take a trick. It's unfortunate. Hopefully he can get himself back in, but it's going to be hard to get back into that team, particularly with Hannon back and Viney's going to be back. So it's just bad luck, a bad break. Pardon the pun. What else? What else made you happy rather than angry?
And this team is just. I think. Just the digs on Petrarca. People having a dig at Petrarca. I don't think people like anybody that has a bit of a. A lot of people don't like people that are happy, and Petrarca's a happy sort of a fella. And I think people don't like that sort of you can't be brash, you got to be robots. But Petrarca, he should have kicked he could have kicked 5. There's a couple of times he should have just had a shot, and then that mark and that quick snap that he did, maybe he should have, he had to take his time on that one.
Yeah, there were a few times.
I don't think he's got any confidence with those set shots.
Yeah, I think if you have a look at his set shot stats, they're not great. So I think it's a confidence thing with him, and I think he does. If he's 40 plus out, he always looks to dish it off. But yeah, I'd like him to take his shots. But confidence, doesn't have the confidence. I can understand.
Yeah, one day he's going to kick his 5 or 6, and the stupid threat, Petrarca and a ruck. But I think he's been pretty consistent. He's pretty good, getting these, 16, 20 possessions a game, a goal here and there, and he does a lot of. He's one of the number one pressure act players in the side. It's one of actually his biggest attribute is his pressure acts in the forward half, and I think, I don't know who you reckon should come in to replace Ken. I think Garlett might. I would like him to come back in because I think he kicked 4 goals in the VFL. I think he might be that. He might provide something special. I don't know whether his heart's in it or not, but I think he might. If his heart's in it, he can provide something special, Mr. Garlett.
Well, it seems like there's a bit of a pecking order at the moment, and if Hannon's fit, it looks like he's probably the guy to come in for that. Grapeviney, what do you think?
Sorry, I just tuned out for a moment there. I was looking at pictures of Max Gawn and Clarry at the All-Australian.
The question is, in terms of Kent, who comes in for Kent's injury? Is that Garlett, who's had the form of 3 or 4 goals in the twos, or Hannon?
It's Hannon, isn't it?
Well, I was just saying we've got a bit of a. It
Yep.
seems there's a bit of a pecking order, and it seems like Hannon's the one. So
Yep.
look, I like Jeffy, and I think he can add something, but I've also seen him do nothing in a game, and unfortunately this year there's been a lot more of that than there has been the stuff like he did against Brisbane in round 2. Last year he had a great year, but this year he hasn't been able to replicate that on a consistent basis.
No,
yeah, I think
agree with that.
Something must be not going right in his life at the moment. I think he might have had somebody die in his family last year, and his form, I think, might have dropped off from that point. These things do affect players. I think he might have lost his passion a bit. I think he did lose a family member last year, and I reckon his form might have dipped about that time last year.
Well, that was around. Look, we can't obviously we can't know that for sure, but I think it was around the Port Adelaide game last year, and I think he had gone. Someone had passed away, a family member or something. He went during the week to a funeral, but then came back, and I think he kicked a couple of goals in that game. So I don't know. Look, that's something we can't know. So, yep.
Yeah.
Anything else, Mr. Angry?
I just keep on, the Herald Sun, first thing we win without Jesse Hogan or Jesse Hugh, they're bringing up the stats. With Jesse Hogan, 71 games, our winning percentage is like 40%. Without Hogan, 16 games, our winning percentage is 60%. But you're comparing 70 games to 16 games, and don't forget, his first 40 games, we only won, I think in his first 40 games, we only won like 10 games in his first 40, with Jess Hogan. So those sort of stats can be, you can use, what do they say about stats? Lies, damn lies, and straight out lies. You can make stats say whatever you want them to make, whatever you want them to say.
So you're saying the stats were saying that we're better off without Hogan? Is that what they're claiming?
Yeah, well... Yeah, that's what the stats are showing on thing, but you're comparing 70 games to 16 games. It's not a fair comparison. Since he made his debut, he's played 71 games and he's missed 16. We've won quite a few. We've got a good percentage when he's out of the side, but it can be skewed a bit there because you're comparing 70 games to 16 games, which doesn't give you a fair reflection on how the side goes.
Having said, I agree with you. But having said that, I think we've performed quite well the last 2 weeks without him. I don't think you would say, "Oh well, we really missed Jesse Hogan." Could have done better with him in the team. And that's not to say I think we should trade him or anything, but I'm just saying we haven't missed him, and that's probably a credit to the team as a whole and our ability to be able to move things around and still be successful and play well like we have the last couple of weeks without him.
Well, that's our depth and our development that Weideman's been able to come in and play with. If Weideman hadn't played well in the last couple of weeks, we might have missed it more, but he's not replaced Hogan, but he's played his role very well. So that's, but in the long run, I'd rather have Hogan in the side coming into the finals than having Hogan not in the finals. Don't you reckon, fellows?
Yeah, well, of course, but he's not there, so we've got to make do. And yeah. Anything else?
But you know what? I don't mind us playing interstate. I reckon we've got a better chance of making the grand final playing in Perth on preliminary final than Collingwood at the MCG. I reckon we've got a better chance of. I don't fear going anywhere as long as I reckon this game now is probably our hardest game for the finals unless we play Richmond. But I think you're saying if we win this and Richmond beat Hawthorn, we're going to play Hawthorn in the second week if we beat Geelong.
Yeah, so we play the loser. If we win, we play the loser of Hawthorn. Play the loser of Hawthorn Richmond, and then it all depends on who we. And then if we win that one, the winner of Collingwood West Coast.
Yeah, I don't want. I'm just going. Oh, you like Collingwood to beat West Coast, but I don't want Collingwood to win ever.
Well,
no matter what, I don't want to see them get. I don't want to see them have a chance to get in the grand final. I think this top four is probably the weakest. Besides Richmond, I reckon the top four. This is the weakest top four I've seen in ever. Don't you reckon this is the weakest top four you've ever seen?
Well,
it's not a very strong top four.
Collingwood have only beaten one team in the top eight. There was a lot of talk about the Demons not having beaten top eight teams. We've now beaten two. We just lost two against Geelong. We were comprehensively beaten by the other. Well, Sydney, you can say. We just lost to them. But Hawthorn, Richmond, Collingwood comprehensively beat us. I think had results gone the other way in a few other games, we would be top four. But I can see what you're saying about Collingwood definitely in there. And 6 weeks ago, no one was people thinking Hawthorn might not make the finals. So they've fallen. Yeah,
because normally when you've got a top four, at least three out of the top four are, the best top three sides in the competition. But the top three is not the best three. Fifth or sixth could easily, fifth, sixth, and could easily be in that top. Sydney could be in the top four. We could be in the top four. So it's a very even. It's an even top six. It's an even top eight.
Well, it's probably good.
Anybody could be anybody in their day in that top eight. It's the even top eight I've ever seen. I reckon I've ever seen.
It's probably a good thing for us. For us, then that might work to our advantage.
Yeah, I don't know. All I want to see us win is at least one beat Geelong, because that would just make my day. And then if we play Hawthorn, if we could beat Geelong and Hawthorn, that would. And I wouldn't care if we went to Perth and we got smacked by West Coast. That wouldn't matter, just as long as we can beat Geelong and Hawthorn. That's almost a premiership for me to beat those two, because Geelong, we could have finished them off, and I reckon Geelong after this year are going to slip away. They're going to say, all the young players are stepping up, but I think Dangerfield, I don't know whether he's made All-Australian tonight, but he's not anywhere near as good a season he's had in the last couple of years. And, Joel Selwood's getting a bit older, and Ablett's on his last legs, So, but you know what I like to see? I hope Viney plays. And what Viney has to do, the number one thing he has to do if he does play, is line up Gary Ablett. And as soon as Gary Ablett gets the ball for the first time, he's got to drill him straight into the ground, into his shoulder. And because I reckon Ablett he's got the scary eyes whenever he's been lucky. He hasn't played Viney this year. I reckon every time he plays us and Viney's playing, he's been a bit tentative.
Well, let's hope that's the way things pan out. All right, don't make me angry. I think we might leave it there. Thank you very much for calling, and we'll probably.
Yes,
I'm sure we'll speak to you.
Yeah, go D's.
Yeah, go those Demons. All right,
Go D's.
that was Don't Make Me Angry. Just a couple of things before we go. Do you like the jumpers we wore the other day?
Yeah, I did. I think I've said before, I don't like the fact that there's so many alternate jumpers and special jumpers. I wish we just wore our normal Guernsey more often, but I did like it, yep.
Yeah. Just a bit of housekeeping.
Did you?
Yeah, look, I liked it, but I agree with you. I think there's too many alternate Guernseys during the year. I like the Indigenous round. I think it's a nice touch. Obviously, we do the Pink Lady thing, and, that's the reason we do that, and it's a good cause.
Anzac Day.
Then there's the Anzac Day, which isn't too different to our normal Guernsey, just a little thing. But, I'd prefer to see us play in the good Guernsey. Jimmy Toumpas was delisted. Any surprises there?
Only that it took so long to happen. He's I don't like. In the thread, people sort of said once a spud, always a spud. I don't like that sort of criticism and using that terminology, even for players who didn't make it. And Toumpas clearly, didn't come good. But look, some players are just found wanting when it comes to the most senior form of the game. He performed very well at Sandford level before he was drafted. And was taken at number 2 for a reason, but for some players it just doesn't work out. And as I say, I'm just surprised that it took so long at Port because he's hardly played really since he's been there, hasn't he?
No.
So best of luck to him, and hope that whatever's up next, he has better luck at.
Well, I won't ask the question, did we make the wrong decision in drafting him? I won't bring that up. I know how you feel on that subject.
I do agree. Somebody pointed out that, Wines is not a superstar. So, he's a really good player, but I don't think he's got a lot of strings to the bow. That's a long time ago now. We've moved on since then, haven't we?
I think so. Do you think anything else you want to bring up? Anything else we need to discuss?
No, I note that there's a Herald Sun story that someone's posted to the Hogan thread. Apparently, Jesse wants to win a flag with Melbourne.
Good.
So,
was that a direct?
Really,
was that a direct?
It's from his management.
Oh, from his management. Well, yep. Look,
not surprising, really, that a player wants to stay with a club that's finished 5th, as opposed to one that got beaten by 20 goals 2 weeks ago.
Yeah, look, I don't think we would put his name up for trade. It would only be a case of if he wanted to go back, and by the sounds of that, he wants to stay. I mean, why wouldn't you want to stay with a team that's, pushing, well, not even pushing for finals, or in the finals, and have got a good crack at going a bit deeper into September.
And we're a high-scoring side, a forward's dream. So, this sort of, that thread is sort of nonsense, really. And I think we discussed last week that and what we talked about with Binman, there's legitimate conversation about the makeup of the forward line. But I don't think one of the multiple choice answers should be trade Hogan. Certainly not in my. Certainly not on my watch.
No, I would agree. All right, let me just bring up our theme music to bring us out. If you want to If you want to follow us on any of the things, you can, of course, demonland.com. Sign up if you're not already signed up and join the conversation of discussing the Ds 24/7, 365 days of the year. You can join us on our Facebook at facebook.com/demonland31. You can follow us on Twitter at Demonland, Instagram at Demonland31. Download this if you're listening to this on SoundCloud through the website. You can subscribe to us through iTunes. Leave us a 5-star review if you feel so inclined. And with that, we'll be back next week and we'll discuss the upcoming elimination final against the Cats.
Your beauty!
Yes, finals. We're finally back. It'll be very exciting. If you can get down to training this week, Saturday, 9:45 a.m. at Gosh's Paddock. I'm sure there'll be lots of fun things for the kids to do there on the Saturday. Hopefully there's some nice weather and it's not as cold as it has been. All right, we'll leave it there. Go D's.
Go D's.